The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Saving and investing can be confusing and overwhelming. We're here to break through the noise, misinformation, and confusion with easy-to-understand concepts and tools that you can put into practice right away. Whether you're a novice investor or an old pro, join Jason as he explores different topics on investing and personal finance. From 401ks to better budgeting decisions, we'll cover it all. Our investment guidance will give you the comfort and security of knowing that you're on track to achieve your goals. It's time to rise above all of the distractions of daily life and take control of your financial future. Welcome to Financially Fit with your host, Jason Haviland.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Financially Fit with Jason Haviland. I'm your host, Jason Haviland, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We've talked over the last 8-9 episodes about a lot of different topics. We've hit mortgages, we've hit college financing, we've hit real estate, we've hit insurance, we even hit photography. We spent a lot of time talking about how to spend your money wisely, how to make good investment decisions, how to look for good values and all of the things that matter to you financially. And that's been great. We've had lots of great discussions. I encourage everyone to go back and explore our YouTube library of prior episodes. But today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to explore the other side of money. Why are we really out there earning money? Why are we trying to save money? What are the priorities that we really have in our life? And explore that maybe, a little bit sacred side of money, the spiritual side of money, the why in the money. And I'm really excited to jump into that conversation today. So with me today is Sarah Woodard. Hello, Sarah.
Hi,
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Sarah is a spiritual educator from Stonebridge Transformation, so thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Why don't we get started by why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, sort of who you are, and what your business is all about.
So the whole spiritual educator thing really, I think that for me, it really started at birth. I was one of those people that came out going, there's so much more than we're being told. And my business now, Stonebridge Transformation, is kind of a result of my lifetime journey of growing into that path and figuring out what my purpose is and where I fit. And the whole point is to help other people along their spiritual journey. And when you really think about it, that spiritual journey encompasses every single thing that you do in life.
Okay. So you're engaged with them more than holistically, let's say.
It is. It's
okay.
not just about money or your job or your career or your personal life, your marriage, your pets. It's everything.
Okay.
Because what you believe in your soul, and that impacts every aspect of your life. So it's a very multifaceted thing, which I find really fun. So
right. And so you have conversations with them, you give them guidance, just a little bit what some of those interactions are like.
So a lot of it is right now. So there's really sort of two focuses. There's a healing piece and there's an education piece. But right now I'm really focused on the education side. So what I offer is books and online classes that are primarily just videos. And with any of those, there's ways to connect with me if you have questions or you need more information.
Okay. So some guidance, some self-help, some self-paced, some interactive.
There's all of that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So and you do that for individuals, couples, anybody interested in that topic in general.
It's really a lot. It's all very, very much, access it in the ways that make sense to you. So if a couple wanted to take the class together, they could take the class together.
Okay.
Whatever works.
All right. So now let's take that. That makes sense. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, what's your personal money story, and sort of how this connects to money? How that way of thinking connects to money.
Sure. So as you know from when we actually first met, I had always sort of known, all right, well, I should be saving, I should be saving for retirement. And before I went into business for myself, I had a 401k and I invested in that. But you never really know who has the money. And the more that I grew into my spiritual journey, the more I was like, no, it's really, really important to me to know where that is going. And beyond that, to be okay with where that's going. Like I've always said, like every dollar you spend, you're voting. That's a vote for what you approve of and what you want to see more of in the world. So if I'm investing my hard-earned dollars in a company that I don't really approve of, that doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
So that, to me, it was just another layer of needing to align with who I'm here to be and have all of the pieces of my life be in alignment.
Come
with
together.
That.
Yeah, it's surprising to me that when I talk to people, they will live their life one way, right? They'll do this in sort of how they eat and who they hang out with and the organizations they support and
all of those
everything
things.
about their life. And then when it comes to their money, like, well, not much I can do there. It's just got to go into this black hole, and I never see it, and I guess it's okay, and maybe it's not.
And that was super frustrating for me. And on top of that, when and I'm sure other people who have, started businesses have maybe gone through something similar. When I was in, the corporate world, you get a steady paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, and it's pretty easy to just live on your budget, and it's no big deal. But when you're in business for yourself, and it comes in different amounts and at different times, and it kind of blew my mind trying to figure out this budget. And I actually took a class that kind of helped me get all that squared away, and also to be okay with the fact that you can be spiritual and live in alignment with your values and be really rich if you want to be really rich, and that's okay.
That can be a good thing too.
I don't see a problem with that. So, all of that kind of eventually led me to you to be like, all right, so I know that right now, I'm making enough to get by. I'm not really, really rich yet, but I want to be, and I want to make sure that I have all of the things in place to be managing my money appropriately for when that happens.
Yeah.
And to be investing it in ways that are in alignment with me when that happens.
Right.
So.
Okay, that's great. All right, so now let's talk about a little bit about that alignment, right?
Yeah.
And you've used language before, soul-centered decision making. All right, let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that gets to what we just described there, which is okay. Like again, there's your value system, sort of how you act, how you behave, like everything that's important to you.
Right.
You want reflected, but how do you really capture that, right? And how do you have that true inward looking moment where you say, okay, is this what I truly believe, or have I just sort of taken some concept from somebody else? Like, how do you get at that, I say, like, I use the term in your heart of hearts, right? Like soul center. So talk a little bit about that process and how people discover that.
So I think for everyone that process is a little bit different. In general, though, it's really about taking a step back, pausing for a second, and really thinking about how do you feel? Like if you're doing something and there's any sense of like, I don't know, probably not a soul-centered thing. Whereas if you do something, you're like, yeah, I feel great about this. This is a good decision. I'm excited. I feel empowered making this decision. Probably a soul-centered decision.
Okay. And what's your advice for how do you incorporate that into your, do you just ask yourself, after every decision you make, you sort of ask yourself that question?
Before you make the decision, actually. Like, as you're, like, I personally am at the point where literally I do it for every little teeny thing. But I don't think that's necessary for most people.
Right.
I think when it comes to big things like how you're investing your money or changing careers or getting married or things like that, there's a process people are already using to make those decisions anyway.
Right.
So what I encourage is inject into there a pause and reflect moment somewhere in your decision-making process, wherever feels right for you. Inject into there a pause and reflect. And don't just reflect up here, but reflect in here.
Right.
How do you feel about this decision? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel empowered by it? Does it feel comfortable? If it feels in any way not a good thing, don't do it.
Right. That's right. And there's a couple of dimensions across that, right? So there is, there's our lenses, let's say, right? There's a financial lens, perhaps. There's a spiritual lens, perhaps. There's perhaps a planet. Is this good for the planet? Is this good for right? Like, are there any other sort of big categories or big lenses that you like to encourage or you find really helpful? It's like, wow, when I think about it in context of that, I really get, that really resonates with me, or I really get an answer that feels good to me?
For me, it's those three. It's the spiritual piece, it's the financial piece, and it's how is it impacting the rest of the world and other people.
Right.
But again, that's a very personal thing. Like for other people, there might be some other big thing that really, really matters to them that they need to think about.
Right. And do you have any, like, what's the, is there a reflection technique or some way to help people like figure out what those are? You know what yours are for you. Is there a way to help people think, all right, what's the way to, so that you really are grounded in what are those things for you?
So, and again, it's different for everyone, but for me, I like to actually, I will sit and meditate, and I truly will get to that point of I just let the thoughts kind of just float across, and I don't let them interfere with the meditation. They're still there, but they just don't get in the way, and I allow kind of spirit, if you will, to come in and show me anything that I might need to see that I'm not already seeing.
Right.
But other people, if that's not where they're at in their journey, it can also be really good to just make a pro-cons list, to just write down, okay, these are the things that I'm excited about, these are the things I'm not excited about. And it's not just about which is longer, but which one do you feel more strongly about? When you look at these are the positives, because every decision is not going to be 100% amazing. It's just not.
True. We will inevitably make some mistakes along our life.
But even decisions that are the right decision, there's something about them that could be on that cons list, right?
Doesn't feel right or didn't feel great.
But it's about when you look at the cons list and you look at the pros list, which one do you have a stronger reaction to?
Right.
If your cons list just makes you feel like, you want to throw up, maybe not go that route. Whereas if your pros list, you're like, you want to dance and flip cartwheels, yeah, probably a good thing.
Right. And that's how, in my mind, like that's how the connection gets made, right? How you sort of reflect on that, pros and cons list, your spirituality, like whatever it is a reflection of who you are.
Yes.
Right? And so I say sort of your true self. Right?
Yep.
Or different words for
and
people
that's
call
a
it different
perfectly valid
things.
term. And if you look at my my website and my social media stuff, you'll see true self on there as well.
I probably stole it from you.
Maybe you did. Maybe you did. It doesn't matter.
But I guess the point is, you've got when you have that sort of spiritual connection, then you also have like the reality of your life and how you spend your money, and sort of you do have to get through life day to day. You do have to think about long-term things. You've got to plan for retirement, houses, colleges, vacations, all sorts of stuff that people are saving for.
All those things, yep.
All those things end up being a reflection, I feel like, of who you are and sort of what you're about.
Absolutely.
How, do you see the money aspect and the spirituality aspect tightly linked, or do you sort of see them unfolding? Nope. How you spend your money reflects it. The things that you do in your heart of hearts are spiritually reflect it, or are they more connected?
They're married. They're that connected. They're super, super connected. From what I buy at the grocery store to put into my body for fuel,
right?
To long-term stuff like investing, or even shorter-term investments like my business. I have to sit and say, okay, well, I could pay somebody to do this for me, or I could do it myself. And it isn't always about whether or not I have the funds to do it. Sometimes it is. But it's also about, is it the right choice for the business? Do I need to inject my personal energy, my soul into this thing, and therefore paying someone else to do it isn't a good idea?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very...
Very, very connected. Okay. So talk to us a little bit about the law of attraction and sort of good money management. And I love this little quote that you said, in your mind, it helps show the universe that you're ready for more. Say more about that, because I thought that was a really interesting way to look at money, right? That's where, trying to get some interesting perspectives on money today. I thought that was really unique.
Leave it to me. So, the law of attraction, people associate that with the book and the movie The Secret. To me, The Secret is this much of the entire iceberg. It's barely the tip of it.
Okay.
The law of attraction, it's a really good start. It's a really good start. It's a way to start to say, I want this and I want it bad, and you start to envision it and you start to feel like you have it. And that's all really empowering and great stuff. But I feel like the universe, God, any terms you want to use for it, it has to know that you're ready. And so when it comes to money, to know that you're ready, it needs to see that the money you have right now you're already managing. So for me, that
You're doing a good job with it.
Yeah,
You're in control. You're
in
on
control
top
of it. You're not just going out and being like, oh, I earned an extra $20. I'm just gonna go blow that on, whatever. So for me, that was about setting up what you and I talked about, the money jars, and
Right.
having basically it's different accounts for different things, and putting a certain percentage of my income into each of those buckets, jars, whatever, so that I'm consistently working towards all of my financial goals, short term, long term, etc. And I'm living day to day, and
Right.
I'm not, going to the grocery store going, oh my God, I don't know how I don't have money to buy groceries.
So what are the jars? This is a good segue to like sort of the practical. How do you put some of this into sort of practical application?
So
tell us about the jars method, sort of what are the
Sure.
jars, and a little bit of the mechanics of how
I
you
need to
set
say
them up.
that I am sort of borrowing this from Harv Eker, if anybody's familiar with him. So it's not like I just made this up myself. I'm borrowing this from him, but I think it works. So for me, the jars were, I have jars about taxes and stuff like that because I'm self-employed. But after that,
It's good. We want to stay out of trouble with the IRS,
yeah,
and
having
that's
them
good.
knock on the door is not a great
Good.
thing.
So we're going to save for that. All right, so you got
Yes.
IRS.
Got IRS, got my
That's a
property
good-
taxes because they're not part of my mortgage. But the biggest jar is day-to-day living. That's like
Right.
55%. And that makes sense because that's where most of your money goes, right? But then after that, there's long-term saving.
Yep.
There's long-term saving to spend. So things like a new furnace, new windows, vacation, new car, any of that stuff.
So there's retirement savings,
the
and
stuff
then
that you
there's
manage, right.
Yeah, and then there's the other
The long-term, like
longer
the-
big stuff that may happen in your life.
Right, exactly. There's the charitable donations bucket,
Yep.
which I'm doing something different with, as you and I have talked
Yeah.
about. But either way, I think that's an important thing because, again, it's about your intentions, and the universe wants to see that you're not just a selfish person that wants $1 million so you can roll around in it and be like, look, I am so rich. You have to be giving back. There is...
All right, well, let's just stick
Anyway,
with
so
those.
we'll stick with
Let's
those.
stick
There's
with those
more,
buckets.
but-
Like, how do you and so how does it go for you to fund them? And is that mechanism of, all right, I have a pretty clear view of sort of what goes into what jar and
Yeah,
then what
so-
can come out of each jar, right?
Right. So you and I worked really hard on this at
Yeah.
the beginning, and for me, because my pay is not consistent every single time, I do it manually. But I have a tracking system I use to track everything I need to do anyway. So I just
Yeah.
made that a recurring task in there, and so every month I know, hey, on this day it's time to put money into this jar, that jar, or the other jar, and I try to keep it about the same amount because my income is about the same.
Yeah.
But I also know that I have some wiggle room. So like if I'm a little bit short one month, I can be like, all right, well, I'll just decrease this one and it's fine.
Right.
Because it is a percentage.
Yep.
And sometimes I have to remind myself
and
that.
it's good to have flexible systems.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
things
because
come
things
up,
happen.
things change,
Things happen.
and so it's good to be able to accommodate
Exactly.
different situations.
Yes, exactly. So for me, it's a manual thing that I just go and do. But I think that if your income is the same every single paycheck and you can predict it, you could certainly set it up to be
Be a little more
automated
rigid
thing.
and okay.
Yeah, and you could set it up to be automated and all of that.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about money and how it impacts your life, how to set it up, the interconnectedness of it all. Let's take a little step further. You mentioned meditation earlier. Talk a little bit about the difference in your mind between mindfulness, which is a real popular,
It's a very popular
area
buzzword
of
right now, yes.
of study now. People trying to become more mindful in their life.
It's a good buzzword.
Probably a good thing in general. But so let's talk a little bit about mindfulness, meditation, and how we can use those two things to connect better to our money.
Okay, so
Maybe you can start with like your definitions or what you think.
yeah,
what you
yeah, I
think-
was
what
actually
do they
going to do
mean?
that. So good.
Good.
So to me, mindfulness is not just a meditation practice. There is a thing called mindfulness meditation, and it is a specific type of meditation.
All right.
But to me, the term mindfulness really means how you're living your life. Are you being mindful of what you're doing and how it impacts others in the world around you? Are you
Okay.
being mindful of how what you're doing impacts yourself, for that matter?
Right.
Whereas meditation is a practice. It's something you do, just like you can go to yoga or you can go to the gym or you can whatever. Meditation is a thing that you do. It's a
Okay.
practice.
So that's It's an activity
Yes.
that you would incorporate into your life.
Yes, I recommend daily.
Right. Okay.
Multiple times.
Clear
even.
your mind, focus, things
Yes.
like that.
And so the way that you can use, and I did this, in fact, when I was trying to grow my business to the point where I wasn't going every week, every in between every paycheck. Oh my God. You can actually do visualizations during your meditation practice to connect with what I call the abundance of the universe, but it can be money. Abundance doesn't have to be money, but for me in that scenario, it was.
Right.
And you can do visualizations to bring that in. The one that I really, really liked was I would sit and I would meditate and I would close my eyes and I would imagine this river of money and it would just flow up to me and I just had these buckets to symbolize the bucket, the
little
jars,
jars
the
and
money
the buckets,
jars,
yep.
and I would just dump the money in. It does work. It sounds goofy, but I swear to you, it works.
All right, and then the way I look at mindfulness is like in everything that you choose to, as we talked about earlier, in everything that you choose to spend money on, in the charities that you choose to give, the percentage
It's a
with
vote.
which you
It's a
save
vote.
and spend, you are reflecting your priorities and in many ways, I think, yourself.
Absolutely.
In all those things.
Absolutely.
All right, so in the meditation and making the connection, let's talk a little bit. We'll go one more step deeper into the deep land here.
Okay.
Money and energy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
I love it.
Let's
Oh, I love it.
let's
I
talk
love it.
about
I
that
love it. I love it.
interconnected nature and sort of what that
I
means
love
to
it.
you.
I love it. I love it. So
Yeah.
in my worldview, everything is energy.
Okay.
And therefore everything
All right. When you say energy, is that like is like karma a synonym for that, or is it?
No,
When you
I
say,
mean
all right,
literally energy.
Okay, energy. Everything.
Like not
like
to,
the force.
Not
It's like
to. Well, I mean,
binds
sort
us
of.
and
Yeah, sort
surrounds
of.
us and connects us all.
Sort of. And literally, like, I don't want to get too into this because I don't want to hurt people's brains. But if you look at quantum physics, it talks about literally everything. Literally has an energetic force, and
Yes.
it is all interconnected. So
Yes.
that's what I mean. Literally, everything is energy.
Yes, that is. There's physics that
Yes.
support
Yes.
positive, negative. We won't do the physics show today, but all right. We
That's
got
a
energy.
whole nother
Okay.
show.
All right, so we got our
But-
energy, and like, how do you see that connecting to money?
So, well, money is just another form of energy, right? So I said abundance can be anything. But what I do know for sure is the universe has provided for all of us in every single form of abundance you can imagine, because it's all just energy and there's enough for all of us. And so if you're feeling lacking in one form of abundance, in this case, money, you need to connect with that on an energetic level and
Okay.
feel good about it. So if you're afraid of money, if you feel like you don't have enough money, well, guess what? That's what's going to continue to happen.
Right.
Because money feels that energy from you, and it's like, oh, I don't really want to be a part of that. Whereas if you're like, I have money and this is great and I'm excited and I can do all these great things with it, money's going to be like, yeah, that's great, and it's going to come in, it's going to seek you out.
Right. Right. And probably not a good way, right? The way I look at this sometimes is I find people sort of asking me like, or having doubts about how they're doing compared to everybody else or compared to their
not about
peers,
everyone else.
right? And that mindset, because in everything, right? It's a very natural thing to do, to just compare
human
yourself.
nature, yes.
And I try to encourage people to take a step back and just look at your situation a little bit more in the absolute. And
Absolutely.
you are a lot more comfortable, better off, doing well than you perhaps think when you try to compare yourself to everybody else.
Absolutely, and it's nothing. I sometimes forget that because I've moved beyond that in my life. But you're right. People do compare, and it's really nothing about your spiritual journey, including money, is about how everyone else is doing. It's about your personal growth and how you're doing compared to where you were yesterday or last year or
Yep.
whatever.
And I think the corollary to that is there's also a big connection between money and fear, right?
Yep.
So I get a lot of, Jason, I'm not going to have enough. I'm going to be eating, dog food, and I got all these bad situations. And again, if you take a big step back, you're probably better off than you think.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't save, you shouldn't plan, you shouldn't
Absolutely.
have guidance.
Correct.
Do you see sort of money and fear connecting at other levels?
So I think that anything that you approach from a fear perspective is not going to go well, whether it's money or anything else.
Yeah, that's really good advice. For anything from a starting position of fear
is not going to go well.
unless you're trying to run from a bear. Maybe that's one place where Even then,
the bear senses your
50-50.
fear. The bear will sense your fear and come after you. Whereas if you stand strong and confident, the bear is more
There
likely
you
to
go.
be like,
See,
hey, you know what? You're
even-
not worth my time.
Even with the bear, you got
The bear will be like, wow, yeah, okay, peace out. Like most of the, I'm not saying do that, but most of the time, the advice is stand up tall and look the bear in the eye and pretend you're big as it is, and it will run away. Obviously, if it's rabbit or something, I'm not saying do that. But my point is, anything that you come at from a perspective of fear, that you're just running through the woods, terrified, it's not going to go well. If you can take that step back, meditate, go for a walk, whatever it is to get yourself centered, and then go, all right, now what? You're going to make a better decision, whether it's about saving your money, spending your money, how you're spending your money, how you're investing your money, anything in life. If you approach it from a place where you're not terrified, you're going to make a better decision.
For some people, that's really hard, right? I feel like there's a lot of people that go through a big part of their day worried about stuff.
Well, there's a reason that anxiety meds are so popular.
Right.
But
and it's there's a whole nother show as well. But that trying to get out of fear and everything in your life just is your money is just another manifestation of all those things that are fearful in your life, that you worry about, that you obsess over. For some people, it's easier to disconnect from those, and probably a place where people could use someone like you to help make that.
So for me, I was going to say, for me, that's where faith really comes into play. If you trust that you've taken that step back and you're listening to what the universe is telling you, to what your guides are telling you, and you're making a decision from your soul, and you just trust that, the fear disappears. It's not easy to get there, believe me. It's taken me my whole life.
Right. It's a journey.
It's a journey. That's just it. That's exactly it. It's a journey. And any single time that you do it is a victory.
Right.
And it makes it easier the next time. For me, it's about faith, and I connect to my faith with meditation and with oracle cards and things like that. But if you rather go to church and pray, do that.
Right. There's a mechanism to access those techniques.
Yes.
In society, lots of ways to do that.
Absolutely. Whatever makes you feel connected is good.
Okay. I'll ask you one really loaded question here to wrap up.
Oh God, okay.
Is money sacred?
It is.
Okay.
I really think it is.
Why do you think that?
Well, first of all, I think everything in life is sacred.
It all has energy. It's all connected.
Correct. And
Let's
I
be
think
mindful
life itself is sacred. Like the fact that we are here and we are breathing and we have this opportunity to make a difference in the world, that's a miracle in and of itself. So everything that is a part of that is sacred and should be treated that way.
I agree. And like I said earlier, like your money is a reflection of who you are, what your priorities are. This has been a great conversation to sort of talk about the interconnected nature of it and a lot of other dimensions that people might not necessarily associate sort of are directly connected with money. But it's really hard to get past all of the noise that surrounds us and really be mindful about it, think about it, and sort of spend your money and do it in a way that's a true expression of who you are
and what you want to be in the world and how you want to be in the world.
Right. Well, thank you, Sarah. This was a great session today. And thank you all for joining us today on Financially Fit with Jason Haviland. I hope you enjoyed our little foray into a little bit different aspect of money management today. So thanks again for being with us, and we will see you on the next episode of Financially Fit with Jason Haviland. Thank you.
Saving and investing can be confusing and overwhelming. We're here to break through the noise, misinformation, and confusion with easy-to-understand concepts and tools that you can put into practice right away. Whether you're a novice investor or an old pro, join Jason as he explores different topics on investing and personal finance. From 401ks to better budgeting decisions, we'll cover it all. Our investment guidance will give you the comfort and security of knowing that you're on track to achieve your goals. It's time to rise above all of the distractions of daily life and take control of your financial future. Welcome to Financially Fit with your host, Jason Haviland.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.